now let's get to a little talk about Bailey's Harbor baseball. As Walt Whitman said, baseball is America's game. It's got the snap, go, fling of the American atmosphere. Carl Sandburg was a baseball fanatic as a boy. He dreamed of being a professional baseball player until a run in the outfield caused him to get a terribly broken ankle and just kind of dashed his dreams. But nonetheless, we did get a pretty good poet out of the deal, so I think that's probably okay. If any of you remember George Carlin, the comedian, loved to compare baseball to football. And just a couple of his comparisons. I could go on a long time, but I won't. Not playing on a gridiron, but on a diamond in the park. Not having hitting, clipping, and unnecessary roughness. Having a sacrifice. And finally, the object of the game, not to capture enemy territory, but to go home and be safe. My one big baseball statistic is that I know that the Milwaukee Braves with pitcher Warren Spahn won the World Series in 1957. That's my one big, and you know why I know that? Because somehow Arnold Visty managed to get somebody to put a television set in my 7th grade classroom in the Bailey's Harbor School, and when the afternoon games played, lights went down, and we all were expected to attend closely to those games. In the history of my own life, been to games. When my children came up during the summers, they were welcomed in Little League, welcomed in girls softball. It's just been a wonderful part of our life. And all of my uncles, I believe, were enthusiastic and well-respected players for the Bailey's Harbor team over the years. But back to 1864. This is the year that Bailey's Harbor first had a competitive team. And I don't think everybody approved overall, because in the Door County Expositor in May 1st, there's a little quote that said, "Croquet and baseball are now attracting the attention of our young gents and ladies who have neither brains nor ambition for anything else." But in spite of that, according to the Advocate, a baseball club was organized in Bailey's Harbor to be called the Foresters, something the boys have long been working for. We think it'll afford them a great deal of pleasure and enjoyment. The following month, they elected officers for 1 year, and in August, they played the Peninsulars, which is the Sturgeon Bay team. The reporting on that game, and they had to go to Sturgeon Bay. And as Bill was pointing out to me today, going to Sturgeon Bay in 1874 probably took a little bit of doing. But the reporting of the game raved about some one-handed catches by the Peninsula left fielder and a big admonition that once the umpire has made a call, it should be cheerfully accepted and games should not be stopped by arguing. The score, Sturgeon Bay 55, the Foresters 15. The game lasted for 4 hours. Well, they raised money. They weren't discouraged. They raised money at a dance for a total of $118 in early September. And then their big chance came along. Excuse me. At the county fair, they used to have trotter races down the streets. We had them here in Bailey's Harbor too, you know, where they have little sulkies and race down the street. And that was a big part of the fair. But since the city put crosswalks across the streets they used, they couldn't run the trotters anymore because I think it was planking, you know, and you couldn't do it. So they determined to have a big baseball tournament. They put out prizes, $30 for the winner, $20 for second place, and invited all the teams around, and this included like Kewaunee, Green Bay, you know, further afield than we would think of now. Well, as it turned out, only 2 teams applied. And those 2 teams were the Peninsulars and the Foresters. It was another 4-hour game, but this time, The score was the Foresters 6 and the Peninsulars 113. But I'm thinking they did win the $20. So, that's a good thing. Now, I think perhaps, fellas made of less stern stuff might have just given it up at that point, but they didn't. And baseball's been going on ever since in Bailey's Harbor. It continues on today. Some of the seasons were good, some maybe not so good, but we produced a lot of magnificent players, and there were lots of exciting games along the way. And that's some of what we're going to learn about tonight. Our presenters are two Bailey's Harbor baseballers. They have done as much to promote baseball in Bailey's Harbor as anyone. Bill Becker, over there, and Bobby Schultz. And I'm going to turn this over to them now.
All right. Ready to go, Willie?
I'm ready. Just for a moment, sit back, close your eyes, and think about 1874. And your team is going to go to Sturgeon Bay to play baseball. Now, you can't call a Babbler bus. You can't call a motor car. There were no cars. Think of the team getting on a wagon or a carriage pulled by horses, leaving Bailey's Harbor for a 23-mile trip to go play baseball. And then you get there and you lose 55 to 5 or 6, whatever it is. Now you got to get back on that wagon and come home. Now, the trip, as I can figure it out, one way had to take at least 5 hours, just to get there. Then you play a 4-hour game, and then you're coming back. So hopefully those guys had some refreshments on their wagon. They come back, when they're playing at that point. Those were the beginnings of baseball. One of the things that in 1874, the club met at the Peninsula House and elected the following officers for 1 year. S.C. Scene, Vice President, William Bradley, Secretary and Treasurer, Roger Etaw, Director, C.V. Brown, and F.B. Hunt. These were the first Bailey's Harbor baseball committee, as Bobby and I are. Bobby currently is president of the Bailey's Harbor Athletic Club, and I'm secretary treasurer. Mike Parent is vice president, and then we have Mike LeClaire, Pat Keehan, and Wayne Hyman as members of our club who work to put on the games. So, but back to history. And of course, here you see how they're beginning to raise funds for the baseball team. As Leanne was talking about quotes in the paper, and of course, I'd like to thank John Gass for showing up tonight. It'd be interesting to see what he writes about this in the paper. But back then, it was called the Weekly Expositioner, And for instance, they keep talking about, baseball at that time. Obviously, baseball was, back in those days, already a way of life, and people went every Sunday to the baseball game. Of course, they didn't have all of the other crazy things to do that we do now. So.
Sorry,
Bobby?
everybody.
All right.
It's okay.
It just seems to have a mind of its own today.
And we've got one of the things about our research, we have some pretty big gaps in our history because of time restraints and trying to do that research. So we kind of jump ahead from those early days, when we played baseball. And most of the baseball in the early days were played at Brand Field, which is where Associated Bank was, just on the other side of the Cornerstone.
Associated Bank is right there, is right there.
When we talk about getting to games, and of course here you got 1909, and you certainly have a mix of horse and buggies and motor cars back then, and that's a pretty good sized crowd to a Bailey's Harbor baseball game in 1909.
Yeah, we think this was on the 4th of July, but, not for sure.
Back in those days, those days included baseball. That was a big part of the thing. From what we can find out, Bobby, this was the first championship team, was that?
The first champs, Bailey's Harbor. We had right here was Goldie Price, Frank Slaughter, Eben Hansen, Emery Etoff, Andy Brand, Harry Brand, Lester Brand, and Winfield Johnson, and lying down is Tiny Sauter and Sam Price. And Andy Brand was the pitcher and the manager of this team. And I really can't figure out where this picture was taken. I've kind of looked at all the old pictures we have. I'm thinking it's Bailey's Harbor, or it could be at a away game. So this was our first championship. As far as we know, up to, we got to get that first area taken care of yet. And this is a team from the 20s?
Yeah, 1920s, we don't know the exact year. We think it's somewhere around 1929. We've had some talks about different people who think they're in there. You might want to take notice of the person right in the middle.
Shaky.
With the turban on, So now exactly what and why he is there, we couldn't quite figure that out.
But you had a suggestion on that where it could be from.
Okay, well, this is based on no facts at all, really, except that in the early 1920s, there was this art school in Frogtown, I think most of you are aware of, and I think they were big supporters of the baseball team. They were doing benefits for them and so forth, and they were always up to mischief, Fun was their middle name. And I've often wondered if maybe that guy is one of those, either dared somebody to wear that crazy hat or just, sat into the picture. It's a theory.
And the taller gentleman in the background there, I think it's August Brand, Charlie's grandfather?
I think it's August Brand, yeah. And the man laying down on the right is Harry Brand.
Yeah.
And there are probably some other Brand boys there too, but I don't know them that well.
Hold it. Eben Hansen is right there.
Mm-hmm.
In 1922,
Can't hold this thing
a
straight.
newspaper article, it says E.M. LaPlante is elected president of the new baseball organization. 1922, it was called the Door Kewanee Baseball Club League. And it was duly and officially launched on Sunday amid the greatest enthusiasm and interest. And that was in 1922. So
I am having a slight technical problem here.
we can overcome
wanna get
technical
back-
problems.
Okay, I wanted to get back to
There
that.
we go.
Okay, there's a 1922 team. And I don't understand why this wants to jump two all the time, but
We think that the reason that this was more or less a professionally taken photograph is because of the formation of the Dora Kiwanee, league at that point. And we think probably every team, more or less, had an official picture taken at that time.
okay, now we're going to try something. The next slide is actually a movie, and thanks to Fred Johnson for hand-carrying this practically to my door. It's a movie of players playing in the old Brand Field. And it's going to, I'm afraid it's going to be, it's a little pixelated. It's not the greatest, but it was, he said, shot by Emery Burns in Sister Bay. The Bailey's Harbor guys are playing Sister Bay. And you have to watch carefully, but at one point, one of the runners, literally jumps over the baseman to get on base. Okay, so let's see if I can play this.
Any of you guys that were pitchers out there, you'll notice that there wasn't much of a pitching mound back then. It was pretty flat. The base paths were still the same. The diamond was still shaped the same. You see Leanne's house in the background on occasion.
There.
Right over.
Any way to get on base. And they're using naturally wood bats. And we just this year went back to wooden bats. We had went to as you know, we had went to aluminum bats for quite a while. Aluminum bats became rather dangerous with the guys getting stronger, hitting the ball harder. So little by little, college teams, high school teams got away from aluminum, and this was our first year back with wood bats. And if you have checked any of the newspaper things, you'll find out that made quite a difference in the home runs that were being hit. You really had to work at scoring runs now instead of waiting to hit the home run.
Here we got Emery Olenberg on the horse, and Billy, his son Billy. At the theater was built in
47.
47, so close to that time. And then back in the early days, the parade before the game, they had the Gibraltar band come and play. The town chairman led the parade to the baseball park, followed with the baseball league officers. So it was a pretty big day.
Wow.
That's how they used to do it.
We kind of expect our town chairman probably to do that again next year.
Yep. But okay. Here we have. Okay, what do we got? Skipped around. This is the 1953 playoff championship team. And it was played on McCardle Field. The McCardle Field is coming out of town, heading south. It's
First corner past
first
Max
corner
Walton Braes.
past Max Walton Braes. Coming into town, and right after the intersection, I guess. It's all grown up now. It's just full of trees. It was on the left-hand side.
Across from the Bailey's Harbor sign?
Yeah, pretty well, up a
bit
little ways,
before
yeah, crossing that big field there, yes. That was the McCardle Field.
I know we've got a couple of members of that team in the audience. I know Bill Hansen's here. Bill, raise your hand.
Yep. Bill Hansen, it's the Hansen family. I wanted to take a quick before I get in more on this, you got, on this team was Evan Hansen, father, but Evan Jr. didn't play, did he? No, Evan Jr. didn't play. But you had Jim Hansen, Bob Hansen, Larry Hansen, we have Bill Hansen here, and the bat boy was Don Hansen. So you had a pretty good team. You got way up in the far left, you got Donnie Reimer. Then you got Larry Hansen, Bill Hansen, Gordy Brand, Bob Hansen looking down, and you got the two umpires, Art Schultz and Carl Anderson. Then Ray Strag on the bottom left, Doug Visty, Evan Hansen Sr., Earl Schramm, and Chuck Goss. And bat boy was Donnie Hansen. And they beat Sister Bay in 13 and a half innings. And Bill Hansen was the winning pitcher right here. So good job.
We got somebody else in the audience from that team. don't
Yeah. No,
we? Who's here?
nope, not this one.
Oh, not this one?
Not this one, but we have the young gentleman sitting next, or standing next to his dad, Gordy.
A little trivia question. Does anybody know the kid that's on the pole off? And he is in the audience tonight, so come on,
Then he's
come on.
standing by his dad over here.
We'd like that little kid to stand up so everybody can recognize him. Chuck Brand. Thank you, Chuck.
And
Your claim to baseball fame, right there.
and Gordy Brand got the winning hit on this game. Larry Hansen got on base, and Gordy hit him in for the winning run, 1-0. And that was the playoff championship, which is called the Shaughnessy playoffs. That's what they call them. Don't ask me where they got. I don't know how they come about it. But top of the thumb was the league champs that year.
Back then, just to give you a little idea, whoops, I got the wrong sheet. Sorry about that. I was gonna tell you about the teams that were in the league, right then, but I'm out of order. So continue on, Bobby.
Okay. This is the McCardle Field, which is the one that's right past Maxwell and Braves. It's all grown in now, but I could still tell where the home plate was by there's three tall trees, the tallest trees in there. That's where this beer stand was. And the beer stand back then was taken care of by, I'm pretty sure it was the men's club. Anybody in here that could tell me different, please tell me. I think it was the men's club they were called. It was Art Reimer that worked the stand. Art Reimer, Erno Visty, Flavian Zock, Martin Zock, and Paul Herbst. But I'm pretty sure that's the group. And other townspeople that came and helped once in a while. I know my dad did in later years. So that.
I found what I was looking for in 1953 to give you an idea of the who was in the league at that time. Top of the thumb, which was Ellison Bay, Washington Island, Sister Bay, Institute, West Jacksonport, Egg Harbor, and the VFW. And we've got an old uniform from the VFW here. And the VFW played out in County A. Right now there's a volleyball court there. That's where they play. Part of the airport property in town of Gibraltar.
Do you remember that?
Over the years, teams come and gone from from the league. The league changed names a number of times. As we know it today, the Door County Baseball League, if my recollection is right, started in 1946. So before then, it was called the Door Kewanee League. It was called the Cherryland League. There was a lot of different names that they played under. And in doing our research, one of the interesting things back then, a lot of the ball players played for different teams in different leagues. They were really baseball crazy. They played as much and as often as they could. And so they traveled often and played in different
Yeah.
leagues.
Just hold on. Before you switch that,
Yeah.
well, if it does, no big deal. I don't know who can remember, Bob Shine remembers the baseball field when you go up Summit Road, going towards our baseball field now. There's a little, as you get up over the hill and you're kind of playing off to go in the straightaway, there's a little white shed off to the right. It's all grown in now, but that was the baseball field in there too. We don't have much information on that. We're trying to find out, but Bob, his dad took him to the games there. And my brother, what was the gentleman's name from the Packers at that time that played for the?
Well, what I was told, you know, this,
Right, what we told, yeah.
that was during the Depression. Ted Fritz from the Packers pitched for Bailey's Harbor. But I was told he got $50 a game, which was an unbelievable amount if you knew what a dollar was worth then. And it was cost $1 to get into the game. It didn't last very long, only 1 year or something like that. It was like a traveling Bailey's Harbor team.
Yeah, and that's the diamond I guess they played on there. But hopefully we'll have another one of these. There's a lot of stuff out there that we gotta get yet.
Okay, the next slide is also a film, and we have, I believe, Jody Visti, is that right, Bobby?
The Visti family,
The
Ernal took
Visti
some
family.
movies. Yep.
Ernal took some movies, and Jody shared this with us. It's, it would be in the 50s, and I think it's at Egg Harbor, I think.
There's a bunch of different diamonds. That's Florian Katursky. Doug Visti's catching. Them two. Buck
There's
Hunnell.
Bucky Hunnell. Remember being like that, Buck?
Billy Hansen, Bill Betcher.
Oh, that at Maplewood? Oh, all right.
Clayton Mecklenburg is on this team. Roger Lent played center field on this team. You'll see them in the end here. You'll see a couple of them in here. You got to watch close, though. That's goes slow.
They all knew how to drink beer.
Oh, they all did, yeah. There's Roger.
You could always.
Well, we got two more pieces of this, right?
Who is that boy? Does anybody know?
This is an institute. Now, the home plate and institute is opposite, or you're batting towards the church. The church is in center field right now. And there's, see how the diamond right now is way up in front.
Folklore has it that when they, if you look out that house, the big white house out there, Florian Katursky told me that Tommy Zock hit that house, one time as he hit a home run. And other folklore has it that Baldy Breitenhagen actually hit a ball up on the steps of the Catholic Church.
Yeah, that's a pretty good shot.
Of course, you got to remember they're like any other story as the years go by.
There, we think might be Paulie Herp sneaking away.
These are rare to find movies like this. One of the things that we were hoping that after tonight people would look, at their in their attic, if they find a box with some baseball stuff in, share it with us so we can add to our historical baseball, legacy. The several people came up and established the Door County League, or the Door County Baseball Hall of Fame. And I've got a kind of a list here of people that played for Bailey's Harbor at one time or another.
Should I go for
They're,
it?
they're all on, most of
All
them
right.
are on them. We got a couple things to say as we go through. Yeah, you can go.
You know, and we did a little narration of some of the players.
But,
And while we're on this, you know, particular slide, in actually of 1938 instead of 1937, we discovered that later.
Yeah. Wherever you see 37, it's supposed to be 38. That was the championship.
In 1938, Bailey's Harbor won, you know, the championship, and at that point, they played in the Wisconsin Amateur State Championship game in Milwaukee at State Fair Park. And many of these players here went to Milwaukee and played in the championship game, which eventually they lost. They were rained out for 3 days, stuck in Milwaukee, and finally got the game in at State Fair Park, and wound up actually losing in the championship game for the state amateur tournament in Milwaukee.
And the 30, for what I don't have too much on the 42 team, but pretty much the same guys are on the 42 championship team that you're going to see what we're going to go through here now.
Should I go?
Yep.
Sure. While you're looking at those and reading some of them, and we don't have the same clips on all of the Hall of Fame players, but as you go through and Leanne goes through, I thought I'd read off the list of people that played for Bailey's Harbor that are inducted into the Hall of Fame. Earl Curly Paul,
Oh, he's going to come up.
he'll come up.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're going to get most of them.
Leon Schramm will come up. Clayton Megenberg, of course, you seen Sid Andre was on there. Gordy Brand, which is here. You know, and Gordy, while we're on Gordy Brand, you know, Gordy had quite a legacy. For instance, going back, you know, in time, Gordy went to Sturgeon Bay High School so he could play baseball. We didn't have a baseball team at Gibraltar at that point. And one of the things was in one game, Gordy had 23 strikeouts, you know, in the game, which they had, and you know, and the newspaper talks about at that time about scouts coming to look at Gordy Brand for professional baseball. You know, and he did pitch for what was called the Green Bay Green Sox at that time. So Gordy had a real legacy of baseball. You know, no hit, no run tilt pitched by Brand, and that was against Kewanee, I believe it was.
I got some things to say on each person, so don't flip through.
You know, and back then, when he was playing, and this was in the Door Kewanee League, Kewanee was in there, Sawyer had a team, Algoma, Casco, Ryle Creek, Egg Harbor, Sturgeon Bay, Bailey's Harbor, and Jacksonport.
I just,
Wait, I don't know why that happened.
that's okay. I'd go back on Billerback.
It's not okay because I don't know why it
He'll come.
happened.
After I'm done, he'll come. I'll say here, I put down is, that he coached the Stars of Tomorrow, which is the Babe Ruth. Steve remembers. He picked every kid up. He got a school bus from the high school, and he picked all of us up at our houses or certain areas in towns, and he took us all home. Every game. And if we won the game, he took us to Dairy Queen. And if we didn't win the game, it wasn't no Dairy Queen, she was straight home. And you didn't say one word on that bus all the way home. But he was a very big part of me growing up in baseball, because he was the physical ed teacher at the high school. He came when I went to Bailey's Harbor, and we had Phi Ed day, hours to go out and play. He was there. He had his lineups so far in advance of what he was going to do. He told me in Little League, he walked to a game, and Mike Bernowski had me at third base, and he looks at Mike and he said, get him out in the outfield. He ain't going to be third base. So I went out to center field, and I never came back in. But Chief was he was a good man. He was good for the kids and did good.
When they dedicated the field at Gibraltar to Chief Bucky, Hunnell and I were there, and we made sure we reminded Chief that we were the battery mates of his first Gibraltar championship team, right, Buck?
Yeah, the first 3 years.
And it went on for 3 years after that. Our first year when he was there, we didn't do so well. But after that, he kind of kicked us in the butt and got us going. And he had a fine legacy, wound up in the state the Hall of Fame for high school coaches and stuff. So.
Okay.
Yep. And we did Gordy. You got any more on Gordy, or is that good?
Well, he had a long legacy. He played for a long time in Bailey's Harbor.
That's okay. That's okay. He was the coach of the '38 championship team. Gordy was. So, okay, here we got Rusty Jardin. I got his son Paul Jardin played in Bailey's Harbor, and then later on went to Egg Harbor. He played in, I think, the early or middle '70s. And his grandson, as of right now, Eric Jardin, is playing in Egg Harbor, and he's one very good ball player. He starts for Egg Harbor at shortstop, so a little history there. Okay, we got Woody Jardin, and we have his daughter here tonight, Kathy. Kathy, would you please stand up? There's Kathy.
Do you have any good stories to talk about? We'll bring you a microphone.
When Bill and I went to the Jardin home and did some talking and finding out things, and she gave us some nice pictures and learned a little bit about her father. And there's a story out there that I haven't found. It's true, but I just it wasn't at Thanksgiving. It wasn't a very good Thanksgiving, because you had Woody Jardin is married to a Dobner girl, married into a Dobner. So you had her brother Lawrence was the manager in Top of the Thumb. Her other brother Leo managed Sisser Bay, and her other brother Marvin managed Jacksonport. And what I was told, Woody managed Bailey's Harbor, but I haven't found that yet, but he probably played in Bailey's Harbor. So there was, back then, that baseball, there wasn't much talking at the table. They were a pretty competitive group. This gentleman was a very, very good ball player. Hit 400 or 500, pretty steady in the county league. He played for, he played for Sister Bay in 1953. He was, with Bailey's Harbor beat him in '53. Then he played in Jacksonport in the '30s. Then he came to Bailey's Harbor, and he was on the '38 championship team, and he was on the '42 championship team. Plus he played at, him and his brother Russ both played at the Highway Club out of Green Bay, and a lot of tournament teams he was on. And the way I could figure out, he started playing probably around, when he was 19 years old, I think he was playing in Bailey's Harbor. And I'm sure he started long before that. So he's a good ball player. Larry Hansen, brother of one of the Hansen family. Very, very good ball player. Very good hitter. And he pitched too, didn't he, Bill?
Yes, he did.
He pitched too, yep. And he played with, what you see there, Pat Tischler and Lloyd Wasserbeck. And I know he played for Institute.
Matter of fact, we had a little discussion before the program. You know, on the lower level, by our town office, we have a picture of Lloyd Wasserbeck, and most of us see him as a football player. And but he was actually a very good baseball player. Played on a lot of our teams, you know, and you know, did well for Bailey's Harbor. So not only did he play football, he did play baseball.
I think on, with Larry here, I was reading on, I've been reading steady. Buck Keene. Everybody knows Buck Keene. A good baseball player. Well, he came to Bailey's Harbor in 1954 and played. But that's when Larry went to Institute with him. So I think he came and played 1 year and stole Larry from us. But then Larry moved, shortly after that, he moved to Beloit or Plymouth. Yeah. Okay.
And we'd love to have a picture of him if.
Yeah,
that
if you
could be
got a picture of
forwarded.
him, you'll see, we want to get a picture of each person up here, so if we can get any type of picture of them. Like this is kind of the stuff we want to do right here. And this is Clayton Mecklenburg. He originally from Egg Harbor, that's where he grew up. Very, very good ball player, very good hitter. And right out of high school, I guess he played in Sister Bay at age 15. And I think he came to Bailey's Harbor for a couple years, and that's about all he played in Bailey's. But
You know, and unfortunately, you know, Clayton passed away this last year. They just had a golf tournament, a golf outing, you know, named after him last, about a week ago, you know, and the money raised in his honor went to the cancer fund at the hospital in Sturgeon Bay. So, he was a great golfer, you know, a great athlete all the way around.
and they got, in this little section here in the paper, he played for the Sturgeon Bay Athletics. And I have a book, the 47 books back there with a couple people from Bailey's Harbors in it. Okay. Curly Paul played for championship teams of 38 and 42 Bailey's Harbor. He owned Curly's Cleaners in Sturgeon Bay for many years. And in 1982, when we won the championship, Brother Butch Hilgenroth and John Becker were the coaches and managers. And Curly lost his legs. And we made, our managers, Butch and John, made a spot for him. He came every Sunday to our home games and some away games. He never missed our game. Because that was the 40-year wait, it was called. We won it in 82, and 40 years before that was 42. And he was on that team, and he was really excited that we won it. So he was a really nice man. And Ian Fram, and we have his daughter, Shirley. There we
Yeah,
go.
stand up, Charlie.
Stand up. Now, this gentleman was a very big part of baseball in the Door County League. I don't have a lot of information on him. Right now, I'm looking for what years he played and stuff. I got a couple things. Do you have anything that you can help us with now? And
I can tell you that when
Here,
you got out.
let me get that for you.
When he first got out of the service in 1947, and this picture is back here in this 47A's book, that he did manage the A's in Sturgeon Bay. And then after that, he was an umpire. He became president of the county league. He was secretary of the county league. And he did play for Bailey's Harbor. He caught for Bailey's Harbor. And he had a grandson also that caught for Institute, I think it was, Chris Schramm. But he also helped start Little League with Curly and the Pony League, and he managed the Bushman Travelers, which was a Little League team for many years. So he really loved baseball. I did tell Leanne a funny story that happened. He went to a Braves game during their years when they were doing so well in the 50s, and it was a doubleheader, and he was hit by a ball from Warren Spahn. So they have a picture in the paper. They took him to the hospital, with a big bandage over his head, and he came back for the doubleheader. And then
There we go.
and they gave him a ball signed with all their names, which is with my cousin John Lauser's grandson has it now. But he just loved baseball. And at all those games you're putting up there, I was the youngest, so I got to go from the tip all the way down and travel with him. And I always had a bottle of Orange Crush. I know that was my reward for traveling. But he loved baseball and enjoyed it. And Lloyd Wasserbeck was also my uncle. They were half-brothers. And this year, I just realized, in some things I was going through, that Lloyd played baseball at the University of Wisconsin at the same time that he played football. Well, not at the same time, but during those years. And I'm in touch with both of his grandsons, so I've sent them a lot of things.
All right.
But, it was just, baseball was important.
Very good. Yeah, we have well, we'll get to it in a little while here. We played in 35 in Bailey's for sure. I got a thing coming up when some other stuff comes. Okay,
We're up to Fritz Wolf.
there you go.
Well, Fritz Wolf is from my family, my Uncle Fritz. And he played for Bailey's Harbor in the 30s. He later managed the team for a short time, but he was best known as an umpire. And for years, when my brothers, especially John and Paul, caught for Bailey's Harbor, if Uncle Fritz was the umpire, my mother never let him take one breath. She was a fence hanger. She was right on the fence, giving her brother, whatever words she could find, and she didn't give him any slack at all. So, but he passed away. The family did a trophy that's still traveling around from team to team today in his honor, we need to get the trophy back home to Bailey's Harbor.
And for Shirley's father, Leon, did we mention that the Door County League Championship trophy is in his name, Leon Schramm. That's in his memory.
Yeah.
And then traveling one is
Right.
Fritz, yep.
And his brother Decker Wolf, which actually Decker, went to Sturgeon Bay High School. He was born here in Bailey's Harbor and played for many years for Bailey's Harbor. He was a real part of the team and the legacy in 1938 when they went to play for the state title in Milwaukee. After he left here, he was signed by the Cleveland Indians, played in the Cleveland Indians farm team for about 9 years, and never quite had the opportunity to get to the parent team of the Cleveland Indians. before we go on, I just, there's just a few other people, of course, that we didn't have things on that, people that are in the Hall of Fame that played for Bailey's Harbor. We covered most of those, but Dennis Krischka played for us for a while, Dick Moore, Delmar Olson, Wally Eckert, Mike Weary. Bucky Hummel got Mike to come here, and gave us our run for the championship team that Bucky managed in 1998. So that was our playoff championship year. So, Bucky, you got anything to say about the championship run?
No, we just had a good time, and I don't know, everybody seemed to get along good and did their job.
All right. Okay.
Now we kind of skip on to a little more of the modern history of Bailey's Harbor baseball. And of course, I'm sure you all, took note of the different uniforms we wore over the years. Back in my playing days, the white wool uniforms, were the ones to wear. The weather wasn't any cooler then than it is now. So Butchie remembers when in wool, Alvin, there's a few guys here that wore those wool uniforms. Today's ball player complains about the mesh uniforms that we provide for them, which are 100% cooler, But in, what was it, Bobby, 71, when we made the change to the Bailey's Harbor A's, or 72,
No, I think like 73.
we took on, at that time, most of the Door County League teams took on names from the major leagues. At that time, the Oakland Athletics were the cream of the crop in professional baseball. We adopted the A's logo and the team, and of course, have kind of kept their colors and for all of these years. And as you can see by what's on the screen, how the recreational park developed over the years, and little by little was added to. Naturally, we believe that our field is the best field in the league. It's certainly, the way it was built, it takes on water, sheds water very well. We're usually able to get games in unless it's in a downpour, because, our field, was built correctly at the time. And Bobby, you got anything on that?
When they bought the field in 1971, Art Stieglitz was the longtime resident in Bailey's Harbor. I think he was with the 4-H. He was with the kids a lot, if I'm not mistaken, and he gave the land to us for $1. And I named the road going in Stieglitz Road. I thought something from giving the town that acreage for $1, he's got to have something in his name out there. So I got the road, and maybe someday we'll make a little park in his name. I think it's well deserved. And let's see, I should stand. When it comes to another person, I'll do some more.
Well, in the the field, like I say, we're proud of our field. It took on a new shape and became a real class field when Buck Hunnell took over the team, you know, Buck was a pretty bullheaded guy, as we all know. You know Buck Hunnell. He wanted things his way and only his way. He got the guys to cut the grass his way. He got the guys to mark the field his way, all legal, you know. But he made sure that there was no dandelions on the field. It was marked right. It was cut right. You know, he made sure that as time went by, he got guys to donate the dugouts and do all of the work. He got the scoreboard donated, you know, for out there. So thanks to
I
Buck.
got the A's sign built.
Right. We got a big A that he
The lean-to.
he got out there.
Lean-to, he was a big part in. So with his help, a lot of stuff got done out there when Buck was coach and gave me some ideas and I ran with it. And
I gotta tell you,
Steve Parent was the chairman, so it went pretty good. We got some stuff done.
I just want to tell you though, it takes a lot of good help too. And like Johnny Becker knew everything that I wanted to do on that field, and he got to know it better than I did, really. And my wife and Bobby Schultz in the stand and that, they worked their heads off in there, and my kids, they got roped into it. If my dog would have been useful, I think I'd have taken her out to the field. But no, it takes a good crew to make it look that way and keep it up. And these guys here are doing a great job. I can't say enough what you guys are doing. It looks great. And thank you.
You know, once somebody starts something, you can't let it go backwards. You have to, you know, keep going forward. And thanks, Buck, for making all that extra work for us.
But yeah, he it's a big part of getting the way that park looks now. It's a big part goes to Buck Hunnell. No, there's no doubt about it. My dream, I guess, you know, out there and growing up here, going to the baseball games with my brother, being bat boy, and when we never had a place to play. Our playground was right in front of this town hall. We played football, we played baseball, and basketball. We played right here, right in here. We got Mrs. Nelson, Gary Nelson's mom let us in here, and she opened it up, and we played basketball. So I always thought, if we ever get a chance, you know, we had a beautiful park to make it for the kids to come and play and have a place to play. And that's pretty much how everything started out there. You know, now we have football, we got soccer, we horseshoes, everything. It's just a place for the family to come and enjoy it with their kids. So hopefully it helped everybody here.
If you back up one frame. You know, here's a couple of our teams, and I'd like Butch Hugenroth to give us a little recap of a special game played on Washington Island. I believe that was 1975.
Like usual, his brother didn't show.
That was a double no-hitter. Lonnie Johnson pitched for the Island, and Craig Bastian, and went into extra innings, and Tim Beware hit a home run to win it
In the
in the
10th inning.
10th inning.
10th inning, yeah.
It's still one of the records in the Door County. They have a double no-hitter like that.
Yeah. Craig pitched 10 innings no-hitter, and Lonnie pitched 9 innings of no-hit.
As you can see, there was a lot more hair in those days.
I was going to say the same thing there. That's the hairstyle changed. I even had hair back then. But
Bobby said he went to get a haircut today. I don't know why, because he didn't have
I wanted to look presentable.
So that's one of, 1975 was one of those milestone games that we always want to point to because it's unusual to have a no-hitter, and when both pitchers pitch no-hitters through 9 innings. It's probably boring for the general fan, but if you're a real baseball nut, I mean, that is the perfect game to watch.
And after the game, back then, them guys, they partied quite a bit. They drank their share of beer. Well, on the way back on the boat, they got to the dock at Northport, and the guy that hits the home run, everybody's jumping into the water. And they're still having fun. And Timmy Beaver gets up and he jumps in. And as he's going down, they hollered to him. And he couldn't swim. So Paul Becker jumps in after him. He went right to the bottom. He had cowboy boots on. Right to the bottom he goes. And Paul Becker and Roy Grassi drove down and got him up. So, unbelievable. But they're a fun group. But you have myself and Steve Parent, Mike Parent, Tom Demeen, we were in Legion. We were playing in the state tournament in Wausau, so thank God we missed that game. And
Before we go on to the next slide where we had Freddie Kanako, I'd certainly like to introduce Steve Parent to you. And Steve has a milestone game also that we need to talk about.
right.
Give him a little recap, Bobby.
Well, baseball is kind of a unique game in that often not a lot of runs are scored, so games can often end in a tie after 9 regulation innings. In fact, in 1979, the year before our 25-inning game, we had 2 games that went into extra innings. We got beat by Maplewood in 13 innings in a regular season game, and then we had a playoff game with Sister Bay that went 16 innings that we lost. But I don't think anyone could have imagined that we would end up playing a 25-inning game in the county league, and one in which both pitchers ended up pitching the majority of those innings. But it did happen in June of 1980. We hosted West Jacksonport in a regular season game here in Bailey's Harbor, and it started out like any other game. West Jacksonport jumped out to an early lead. They were ahead 4-1 after 7 innings, and we scored 3 runs in the bottom of the 8th, and then to tie the game, and then when no one scored in the 9th inning, of course the game went into extra innings. And we were really confident after scoring those 3 runs that if we held West Jacksonport for an inning or 2 without scoring, that we were bound to score a run and win the game and could go home. But as it turned out, we went out for the 10th inning, the 11th inning, the 12th inning, and no team could score. And what you have to realize in the Door County League is that we play once a week, so most teams will have just one starting pitcher and maybe 1 or 2 guys that can come in relief, but those guys tend to be position players that are much more valuable to the team as a second baseman or a shortstop. So managers tend to go with their starting pitchers absolutely as long as they can before they'll pull them out. And since I was doing pretty well, didn't get into too much trouble, John Becker, who was our manager at that time, just came up to me kind of privately and asked if I was doing okay, and as long as I felt all right and wasn't getting in trouble, he was going to just stick with me because he really didn't have anybody that he wanted to put in. So we just kind of did it inning by inning, and he just kept urging me on, keep going out there, see what you can do. And pretty soon it's 13, 14, 15 innings. We're still, no team can score. And if you go back to the longest game in County League history prior to our game, you have to go back to 1951. Institute was playing on Washington Island, and Institute scored 3 runs in the top of the 18th to win that game. And in that game, both pitchers pitched the entire 18 innings. So it wasn't unprecedented that Dave Miller, who pitched for West Jacksonport, and I were still in the game after 14, 15 innings. We just kept going back out, going back out. Well, by this time, all the other county league games had long ended. And we weren't on the radio that day, but someone had called the radio station to make an announcement that Bailey's Harbor was still playing, and if anyone was interested in seeing some more ball, if they hurried out to the ball field, that they might be able to catch the end of our game. And as it turned out, they didn't really have to hurry to get there, because there's a lot of time left. But pretty soon, we started seeing players from other teams, fans from other teams coming out to the field. We had a really large crowd late in the day, late in the game. And we would have made a killing in the concession stand, but we ran out of food, ran out of beer, ran out of soda, and there was nothing left for the guys in the stand to sell. So everybody just stuck around and wanted to see who was going to win this game. So we continued 15, 16, 17 innings. Nobody could score. And by that time, I'm sure the balls that I was throwing to home plate looked like softballs to the other players. But after they had batted 5, 6, 7 times, they're getting a little tired too. Their arms are tired, the bat's getting heavy. And so it was kind of like a heavyweight boxing match at the end where, the two guys are just kind of leaning on each other, trying to, score that one knockout punch and unable to do it. And we just, kept going. We had a few opportunities to score. The bottom of the 19th, Craig Bastian hit a line drive that had it gotten out of the infield would have ended the game, but Jacksonport's shortstop made a diving catch to end that inning. In the bottom of the 22nd, Bob Schultz hit a double. Craig Bastian came up, hit a ball down the first base line that we all thought was going to fall for a base hit. But unfortunately, the first baseman made a leaping catch, doubled Bob off second base, and Tom Rush came up after that, hit a double, and between those two plays, certainly we would have won the game had that double play not occurred. So we continued on 23, 24 innings. Finally, in the 25th inning, Jacksonport's leadoff hitter hit a ball to deep center field that I thought definitely was going to be a home run, and I watched Bob go back to the fence and jump up, and I just assumed it went over his head, and I turned around and looked to the umpire to get a new ball, figuring it's a home run, and I'm going to get ready for the next batter. And all of a sudden I hear a cheer come up from our side of the field, and I turned around, and Bob was throwing the ball back into the infield. He had reached over the fence and robbed Jacksonport of a home run that would have been the first run scored in 17 innings. So that got us kind of fired up, but by that time I was totally out of gas. I think I walked the next batter, and then Dick Kroll came up. He was the manager of West Jacksonport, and he had put himself in the game a couple innings prior to that. And in his day, he was a very good hitter, and even that day, he was still quite a hitter. And of course, he was fresh, and compared to us, it was like batting practice for him. So I threw a pitch into him, and as soon as it left the bat, I knew it was a home run, and there was not going to be anyone reaching over the fence to rob him of it. It was over by 30 or 40 feet. So they scored 2 runs on that play, and I was done. John took me out and put Tom Rush in to finish that, the top of the inning. Jacksonport ended up scoring 1 more run, and of course that home run really took the wind out of our sails, and we weren't able to muster anything in the bottom of the inning, so we ended up losing 7-4. And in the end, we had played 25 innings of ball. The game had started at 1:30, and it ended at 10-8 that night. And so we played 6 hours and 20 minutes, although for 25 innings, that's a pretty quick game. So, and just as kind of a side note, nowadays when the threshold for a pitcher to be pulled out of a game, even if he's doing well, to kind of protect his arm and make sure he doesn't hurt himself, is maybe 100 to 110 pitches. And that day I faced like 92 batters. And if you figure 3 to 4 pitches on average per batter, I probably threw well over 300 pitches, which was not a really, it's a crazy number, but not really, in hindsight, not a really smart thing to do. But, the county league is very competitive, and bragging rights are on the line every week. So you do what you have to do to get the job done. So that's kind of what I felt like I had to do. And unfortunately, we lost that game. It was not a real good season for us. I think we only won 5 or 6 games, so we weren't really even close to getting into the playoffs. But in what was really an unremarkable season, it was a very remarkable game that we played, and I was happy to be a part of it and happy to share that with you today.
Thank you. Good job. I got a couple things.
Did you notice, by the way, if you looked at Steve's arms, his left arm is a lot longer than the right?
One thing I remember, and it's real short here, what did Dick Kroll say when he came to the plate? Come up to the plate and he slammed his bat on there and he goes, "I got to get home to milk my cows." And bang, she was out of the park. So, we're going to move on.
Yeah, we'll move on.
Because I want you to say
I
a
don't know
couple
how long
things.
you want this thing to go.
This, we'll cut it short. This one, Freddie Canuncle, just very, very good fan of ours. Had a lot of fun times with him. He kept the spirit in our baseball team, playing his polka music and dancing, and it was a lot of fun to be with him. He was our #1 fan.
We've got Freddie's jacket hanging on the wall that he wore religiously. And if anybody has a cassette tape and wants to listen to any polka music, we still have his tapes.
Yes.
So anybody wants a cassette tape of good polka music, Freddie came, his family left it to us, so.
Okay. This is 82 champs. This was lower left, John Becker and Butch Hugenroth as they were our managers. We dedicated the season that year for Paul Herbst. And it was, I got some stuff over here. It was awesome. It was 40 years since we've won a championship, and tell you, there was a lot of kids crying and grown-ups crying after that one. That was that one was in the heart, big time. It's meant a lot to win that game. It's
Paul Herbst was one of the long-time, supporters of Bailey's Harbor baseball, and he never let you forget, anything about the game you played if you went to the tavern afterwards.
He always threw a book out at me. It was the Red Sox hitter.
Ted Williams.
Ted Williams. He said, "Here, Schultz, read this. You might be able to hit the ball." But anyway, he's a very big fan. We won we got all these trophies. And then he took us, I think, Butch, was that the time you went in by Smokey? Smokey Bly and him were real neck and neck. They're related, and Smokey had owned Jacksonport team, and Paulie was a big Bailey's Harbor fan. And he finally got to come into Smokey Bly's, and he pulled out a $100 bill, and he said, "Spinner." But I can't say from where to where, because that's from the sidewalk all the way into the whole bar. He spun her with a $100 bill, and that was the pride. He was smiling ear to ear at that time. So it was fun. Good year.
From that team, John Bastian was pitcher of the year that year from that team, and Butch Hugenroth was manager of the year, in 1982.
Yep. If you want, Bill. Okay, we got the. Okay,
Go ahead, man.
we're good.
Oh, here it is. In 1998, that was our playoff championship year. Buck Honnold was the manager of the year in 1998. Of course, his team that's there, Tommy Anderson, who was the batting champion that year. You know, so Buck did a good job keeping these guys on their toes. And on the table back there, Jody Visti had written out a game-by-game summary of the run to the championship, as he called it. So
It's back
if
there.
anybody's interested, you know, you can kind of see how the season went. Buck, you got anything to say about that championship year?
No, I think it says it all right there.
And your wife looks good on there. I don't know about you, but your wife.
It hasn't changed. But you can see the smiles on them guys.
Oh, yeah.
That was a happy one.
Sorry, Buck.
That's okay.
Wasn't Brett Anschutz the bat boy that year?
Yes, he was.
You
Yes,
know?
he was, yeah.
And of course, Brett, probably, you know, our lead pitcher, you know, to this day, you know. So.
And coming on, we're going to get more into our little leagues. We didn't get too far into the little league, but we just got some pictures of our little league teams. And just want to mention Gene Baldry. He managed from 1979 to 1993. He coached the Bailey's Harbor Little League. Now, nowadays, you don't see that. You see the fathers follow their sons up to a certain age, then they go with them and move on. This gentleman stayed and took care of the Little League. He did a wonderful job. We had a day in his memory out there. And they won it. They went 12-0 in 1983. And then after he retired from the Little League, he was out there with us every day with me. He worked in the stand with me, helped me set up every day in the stand, got stuff, and just whatever I needed. He ran into town to get ice or whatever, and he was the very big part of the ball club out there. Miss him dearly.
Never played for Bailey's Harbor.
No, never did, but
But
gave a lot of time out there.
gave a lot of time for us.
I want
And I think
to,
we go on to Babe Ruth, the team, of course, as Buck, or as Bobby had told you before, it started out as the Stars of Tomorrow, where Rod Billerbeck, you know, did that and coached that, and of course it evolved into Babe Ruth. And this is one of our teams. Charlie Hendrickson was the manager of the Babe Ruth team at that point. And you know, we've continued to try to develop ball players for Gibraltar High School through the Babe Ruth program. We go to the Little League from 8 to 12, Babe Ruth from 13 to 16, you know, then of course they can go on to Legion, play Junior Legion, Senior Legion, but it's a good feeder program for all of Gibraltar High School.
okay,
The button?
we're almost done here.
My wheel spins.
There's a couple things I want you to say, Bill, on what I just, I'm working on getting all the managers. I'm not all completed with that yet, but we have
You know,
some.
as we look here, we'll see, you know, some of our recent teams, you know, that we keep pictures of. One of the mistakes we've made over the years is not putting dates and names on our pictures, you know, which we've got a lot of pictures and it's hard always to
Let that be
pull
a
out the name.
lesson.
Let that be a lesson, you know. You know, one of the things that I wanted to mention, of course, you know, we certainly appreciate all of the people that showed up tonight to take interest in Bailey's Harbor baseball and its legacy for 139 years. You know, without interest and without the fan base, you know, we couldn't continue. And the one thing we need is we need always volunteers, no matter your age, or whatever. We can always use ticket takers or people to help in the stands. So if you ever want to volunteer, you know, certainly contact Bob or I. We'll make sure that you have an easy job for a Sunday. And we only really need you one Sunday a year if we get enough, so that would be helpful to us. I needed to talk about the business people that are here. Back in, well, it was about 1992, you started the banner program, or 94.
I believe it was around that.
We started selling banners to the business people in town, that helps support our team. Takes a lot of money to buy bats, equipment, new uniforms on occasion. It looks like we got a lot of uniforms, but we got a span of a lot of years on the uniforms that we have there. Thank you for your support. Thank the businesses for their support. A couple of, and again, I'd like to mention, if you're going through things in your home, you find a box of anything to do with baseball, even if it's not from Bailey's Harbor Baseball, but it's anything to do with the county league, we'd like to funnel it through our system, through the Historical Society, and kind of build things for the future. Because as Bob and I have talked, we should have did this 20 years ago. We should have done it 10 years ago.
Got to give you that one.
As time goes by, we lose those people who have those memories.
Plenty.
I remember things in generality. There's people that out there that remember specifics, so we like to have those people, give us those specifics. One of the things that Bob and I have talked about often is the Door County Hall of Fame, Door County Baseball Hall of Fame. The people who run it claim that the reason Northern Door County doesn't get more members into the Hall of Fame is none of us vote. So if you attend a ball game next season, because next year will be another Hall of Fame year, vote. You can vote more than once. We could stuff the ballot box for a change and maybe get some of our players from the recent championship teams in there. Bobby, I know you've been on that bandwagon. We'd certainly like to get more people represented, in the Door County Baseball Hall of Fame.
Oh, the last representative was 1953, and I think there's a lot more guys. You got a couple no-hitters, you got managers of the year, you got a man that throws a 25-inning game, you got a couple championship teams, and we got, I don't know. Maybe we'll start our own up here.
It'll happen. Well, I can't thank you guys enough.
So, I hope we did okay.
You did great. You did great. Chuck?
So,
Yeah, I guess listening to Mrs. or Mr. Schramm's daughter over there, I go back to when Paulie Herbst was sponsoring the league, and at that time, it was a big deal to me to sit by the corner window and drink one of those 6-ounce Orange Crush bottles. That was something. And then two names that I didn't hear mentioned here, which I would say every Sunday at the McCardle Field were Martin Zock and Harvey Fairchild collecting tickets. I mean, you didn't drive in there without paying one of those guys some money to get in the field, so.
I got Martin in there, but I didn't know about Harvey. As we go, we'll pick up more. Thank you. And our chairman here, he was Don. You were in the beer stand with Dwayne Powell in the 25-inning game, weren't you? You were through the Lions Club. You took care of that, or not? I thought you were. But no, it's so I think that'll be it.
Ball player, I remember the wool uniforms on a hot Sunday afternoon when it would rain, and the players would crawl back in the car waiting for it to stop raining.
Head up first.
I just want to say that it makes me want to go to ball games again. You guys did a really good job, and you really brought it, so thank you so much for doing that.
I want to thank Christy for bringing the Fish Creek uniform. That was pretty neat.
That was Charlie Jarman's uniform.
Charlie Jarman's uniform. It's,
Got it at a yard sale.
it's nice to see though. You know, that's the first time I've ever seen the Fish Creek uniform, and I found the VFW one from my father. He had that one, and I got that one, and you got there's a poster up there from 1941 that
Donnie
Donnie
Girdman.
Gerdman gave to us.
You know, back then it was kind of interesting too in the 40s to see how the different teams were. And one of the things in the research, for instance, is a team that probably very few people would know existed is the Peninsula State Park. Had the conservation Congress people working in the state park, and they actually had a team in the Door County League. You know, it's called the CCC team. You know, which is unusual.
In the late 60s, early 70s, you had some pretty good women baseball teams.
Softballs, yep.
Oh, yeah.
They were really good.
I guess the committee they put us on now, I guess we're going to have to do all that. Go ahead.
I just wanted to tell you kind of a funny story. When my dad died, he always said they had lots at Institute, where my mother had been from, with my uncle and aunt, Frank and Irene Lausier. And my dad wanted to face the ball field. And he was the first to die, and he died in the winter in 1969. And they couldn't really find where they were digging. I mean, there was snow. Remember how we used to get snow? So he's facing the other way, and my Uncle Frank is looking at the ball field. We always had a laugh about that. He thought he had it all planned.
How old was he when he passed away?
He was only 59.
59. Wow. He died the same year as Eben Hansen. Eben Hansen, your father died in 69. I went up to the cemetery, you know, and I walked the whole thing, looking for all your fathers. And what year Gordy was died, 1910, he was born. He was 68 69 when he passed away. I got a lot of information out there. Told me where to go look.
Did anybody talk to you?
They didn't holler back at me. But I had one quick one, then we're done. When Leanne brought it up right in the beginning, he said, Ernal got you a TV to watch a baseball game. Well, I had your mother and Gordy was my teacher in Fish Creek. So we got to watch, well, I didn't. We got to watch the baseball. The Cincinnati Reds were on, and if you had all your homework done and you were good that day, you get to watch he turned the TV on, we got to watch the Cincinnati Reds.
Yeah. No wonder
I didn't get to go.
No.
I went in the back room with your mom down below, and I had to study all day. So I missed the World Series. But you know, in the long run, he did me a favor. So. He was, I have to say, growing up, and knowing him, Gordy Brand, I never knew he was a baseball player. He never let you know that, he never talked about it. Never, until, you know, I'm starting looking now, and my brother told me a lot of stories. You know, and then once we get into this, and you get in there and you start reading, then it just, everything comes up. Of all, and he never mentioned it. And I wish that I could have known that back then. He was a good man, very strict, but very good man. I wish I had known that he did all them things. I'm done.
Yeah, I just wanted to tell you something about Gordy Brand. He was one of my teachers up in Elson Bay when I lived up there, and he was always the quarterback when we'd play football out in the playground there. And Gordy hummed one day, and she hit me right in the right square in the head. And, geez, I was knocked right out. And I was only like in the 4th grade or something like that. And Gordy didn't mean it, you know, he just didn't know how fast he could really throw. And there wasn't many kids that caught the ball.
We can tell a lot of Gordy Brand stories, that's for sure.
Well, he was truly a great guy, I can attest to that. I just want to remind you, when you're leaving, take a look at Christie's display cases downstairs. There are a whole lot of photographs that are in need of identification. And I took a good look at them, and I actually spotted one that I can't identify. So, you know, maybe some others might have the same fortune, the good fortune. And I just, again, if you can, please put the chairs back when you leave, but don't wait. Oh, I have to tell you something before you go. I want you to get home and be safe. Thanks for everything.